Hello everyone, this is my reaction to Star Citizen Live Invictus Ship Talk Q&A.
Will there be more types of ground vehicles?
Yes.
I like ground vehicles in games, I like them very much, but driving in Star Citizen in year 13 is still abysmal bad. I've seen small indie devs with much better driving physics than what we have in Star Citizen. No mass simulation, no inertia, which leads to massive oversteering. No feedback for the driver. Ground vehicles just pivot around a center set axis. Even a 70-ton Nova tank on one cheap planets jumps around as if it would be made out of paper. And don't get me started to talk about GraphLev. We had John Bridger's fantastic 3.1.4 GraphLev, May 2018. It was fun, it was fast, it was smooth, it looked ahead and made small adjustments on its own. We could pitch up and down to support GraphLev. John had to leave, and in 3.5 after John left, CRG totally trashed his GraphLev.
If we get, when weather comes online and stuff, being able to, keep ships out, but having like giant Sturgis style hog wild, kind of events that require hundreds of ground vehicles in place and stuff would be super cool. And that's just casual conversation between me and the design director. It's not a commitment to an idea.
I find this really funny, actually sad. Year 13, we have this tech demo with missing basics, missing basic mechanics, almost no physics, and now they have totally new ideas. Let's make it so that we artificially limit where spaceships can fly, so people have to use ground vehicles. Come on, do you ever want to finish your game? And yes, I love using ground vehicles in games, but not in Star Citizen. How about you're giving us halfway decent driving physics first?
Internally arguing about toilets and showers.
We're not going to put a when on this, but if by the time your time here is done and my time here is done, if we don't have poop gameplay, I'm going to be...
Yeah. There'll be one other director who will be very upset about that as well if we don't have that.
This is the face of somebody who wants poop gameplay. And Chris, if you're there watching, I'm sorry.
Shower gameplay, personal hygiene, toilet gameplay, let's put it all in. In real life, I shower once a day. Doing this in Star Citizen would be totally pointless. So CRG will overdo it, like they did with hunger and thirst, like dying of thirst in 3 hours, dying of hunger in 5 hours. So you have to shower every 2 hours in game. And what will this add to the game? A game that is still a bare tech demo in year 13 with missing basics. How about you're finishing your game? Why all this feature creep?
Will single-seat fighters and similar ships allow for in-cockpit eating and drinking?
For me personally, yes, that is something I want. Ultimately, that is not my area of responsibility. It's more of a overall game direction thing. But I don't see why we wouldn't allow that in the future.
I would like to point out, NASA figured this out 60 years ago. Astronauts and pilots can eat and drink fine while wearing a full spacesuit. Here we have a U2 pilot. He has to wear a spacesuit because U2 is flying so high, if something happens, an accident, he would die in seconds. U2 cockpit is very small, very tiny, while cockpits in Star Citizen are as big as a hall. He can eat and drink fine. They are using liquid food.
Can the Mobi-Glass ship interface include remote control of doors, elevators, and cargo ramps? Oh, we've been talking about that for years.
Desperately want this to be a thing, pushing on it internally. Again, it's not directly in my wheelhouse, so it's subject to other teams' schedules and directions. But yes, being able to unlock, lock, open doors from your Mobi-Glass for your ship.
Year 13, and now CRG is thinking about things we can do with our cars for decades. And what happened to the permission system, CRG is talking about for more than 8 years.
I think the bigger question is, how are you going to protect your ship and your cargo that's being loaded and unloaded on your ship?
I would be fine with this, but in year 12 we still don't have keys, we don't have biometric locks. Everyone who makes it onto the pilot seat has full control over your ship. We cannot draw weapons in armistice zones to protect our cargo. And we have no police forces, no security forces, even in high security areas like Stanton. I was pretty much sure CRG talked about ship owner giving permissions, and I found some clips.
Now first is the captain's station. This is usually the owner of the ship, and he has the ability to see what all of the others are currently doing. He also has the ability, if needed, to override one of the other stations and take control of what's going on in that position. He also has the ability to set permissions and set the security states to put the ship on high alert or at a peace state if you're in a less risky position.
Overall, like for a ship owner, we do want you to have some level of control to say, okay, I'm hiring you on board as crew, have them be another player or an NPC, and I'm going to give you access to the engineering station. I'm going to give you access to shield management, and you'll flag your crew for the different permissions that you want. That way, it'll be a bit trickier for someone to just run up to the pilot seat of your own ship, try and get in and use it, and it'll be more, well, you didn't flag him for permissions, so he's going to just rip you out the seat, get in his own pilot seat, and start flying.
This is the exact same problem that we're going to encounter over and over and over again that we've talked about, which is, well, if somebody boards your ship, can they basically just sit in the pilot seat and go? And that's the way it is right now. But if eventually we're going to have much more of a security system concept. And so, irregardless of the fact that I allow other players onto my ship, that doesn't necessarily mean that I, as captain, have basically given them the keys to the thing.
Well,
so if I disappear,
you may not give them the permission to use the helm. They may have the permission to walk all around or use turrets or whatever, but
and so
they may not have the keys to the ignition.
Yeah, I can see the captain, the owner of the ship, basically designating who can do what. In other words, if I'm disconnected, then my navigator, whether it's an NPC or a player, can basically assume control of piloting the craft. But I, in advance, basically said how I want the ship to, how I want the crew of the ship to be able to respond in this particular scenario.
We want people to be able to manage custom groups, to customize permissions for individuals, to set roles on people in those groups, in parties, to be able to set permissions on ships for people who are on your ship. What can they access? What can they get into? And so in order to house all that new functionality, we need a new UI system that's capable of doing that.
We've been looking into building this permission system for ships where the captain can assign item control to specific people in the ship. So he can, give the engineer the role to control the power plant and the coolers, and a weapons officer the ability to control weapons, that sort of thing, right? And the hope is that over time, as we add more and more depth of sort of systems gameplay inside the ships, that combined with the permission system will be conducive to more and more deep multi-crew gameplay.
I know that the team that's doing it has a lot of stuff, and it's a lot of stuff that players have asked for, like the 3D landing camera on the radar.
John Crew, you are long enough with this project that you know we had a perfectly working landing camera before 3.0, but then CRG decided to just throw it away. Why?
Hey, traveler. Thanks for stopping by CryAstro, the Empire's repair, refuel, and restocking one-stop solution. Got into a little scrape, huh? We can patch the damage up if you like.
Yes, I like to.
Landing gear deployed.
Your radar changed into a landing radar, and you could land on a dime without third-person view. This would be very helpful, especially since many hangars are very tight if you are in a big ship.
Landing complete.
Okay, let's get everything. These are the repair drones.
Can weapon and missile hardpoints carry other tools like fuel tanks or electronic pods?
That is something, not those two specific things in particular, but again, not to give too much away, but in the very near future, we're going to start experimenting with some alternative options for what missile racks can carry.
You're asking for $20 for two Size 3 bomb racks. They don't even come with a bomb.
Currently, marine seats on ships feel underutilized. Will they have unique functions in the future?
Assuming this is
drop seats.
Drop seats. Yes, they sort of do already, but it's sort of underutilized or unnoticed feature in that we do impart G-forces onto loose actors within ships. So for drop ships, if you have 20 people crammed in the back of a Valkyrie and the pilot does a hard turn, you're all ragdolling and falling over. It doesn't happen really as much as we want or the way we want it. It's very binary at the moment, like big impulse happens, everyone falls over. Whereas the way Chris has talked to me about it is your gravity generator on ships, which is not yet a physicalized item but will be, sort of lags in its compensation of gravity. So rather than it being too much gravity, everyone fall over, it's hard turn, gravity's failing, everything starts getting loose, and if it continues, then people start not necessarily falling over, but almost like EVAing inside the ship because the gravity cannot keep up with the force and the directions. So then, being sat in the seats, you're not having to deal with any of that.
CRG going again for an artificial solution to make jump seats useful in this game. I hate those fast reactions. They make no sense. Players are never thrown forward, reverse to the side. Players are always only landing on their butt, and then it takes like 10 seconds to stand up again. And what about ships that have jump seats, aka camping stools? How do you want to solve this issue? Does this camping stool make me immune to fast reactions?
Will ships like the Caterpillar and Kraken have cargo lift functionality? Loading and unloading on the ground is currently cumbersome. The Caterpillar is an interesting
The Caterpillar is an interesting pain point. So we recently changed the side doors to go down to the ground to sort of improve that. And it sort of improved some things, made other things worse. That's not how we want to do it. I think retrospectively, if we were designing the Caterpillar today, it would not have doors like that.
Knowing what we know today versus what we knew in 2013.
So we're sort of hamstrung by that design. Whether we'll entirely redo that, I don't know yet. But we do, if it stays in that design, we do still want to have the 3-state doors. The current limitation with the existing door tech, and I saw someone moaning on Reddit about this today, doors in Star Citizen have 2 states, open or closed. The Caterpillar doors, side doors, are doors, so they are closed or they're open, and it's just where that open state is. So we chose to move it all the way down to the ground to improve things. We can't currently add a 3rd interim state, so open and keep it there.
Yeah.
Let us sink in. According to Carl Jones, CRG has received $1 billion in funding, and this was months ago. Year 13 and CRG cannot do a 3-stage door. Okay, so I'm moving around because physics is hard for CRG. And now door will close automatically. Yeah, 10 out of 10, and one container glitched through and now it's on top. Yeah, this isn't exactly a very good way to load your ship, Chris. And even when I use a very bad radial menu, there's only close. There's no separate elevator up. And now my mule gets kicked into the Caterpillar. Yeah. Some people say I'm too negative, but come on people. This is a $1 billion project in year 13 with mechanics that are worse than in very, very small indie games I have seen. There's no excuse for this. I don't judge this game like I would judge a small indie dev studio in year 1 or 2.
Will modules for ships like the Galaxy be available for in-game currency upon release, so players aren't stuck with half-functional ships?
The Retaliator modules, maybe they're not in the in-game shops. Yeah. Maybe there might be a technical reason why they're not in there at the moment.
Can ship hull damage and breakage effects, as seen in Squadron 42, that's Maelstrom, be implemented in the PU?
Yes, that is the plan. Maelstrom is full speed ahead in Squadron. My team and a lot of other teams are working on it currently. I think they are about, at the time of recording, about, I'm going to say 70% of the way through converting
that's more than I would have
the ships required for Squadron.
Oh, okay.
70% of the ships required for Squadron are converted to Maelstrom. This means less than 10% of the ships we have in the universe are converted to Maelstrom. Go CRG.
With this new release cadence this year, we've already done 4 patches this year. We're about to do our 5th one by the time folks watch this.
Who started this? Did Aaron came up with this? Now everyone is repeating this. This is totally wrong. We didn't get 4 patches this year. If I'm very generous, we had 4.0 and 4.1 with very little new content. We never counted 0.1 or 0.2 patches. We never counted patches that are only here for events like, for example, Invictus. This is totally gaslighting CIG.
Jerk.
Yeah.
Yes. You know, as Jerk comes online, so like this, that'll change how
Jerk and control surfaces will change the landscape again for flight.
We actually had Jerk in the game until CIG removed it, I think, in 3.14. This is a $1 billion project in year 13, and CIG is still working on the flight model. This is unbelievable. The flight model should be finished in year 2 or 3. CIG still behaves as if they have all the time in the world. I'm starting to think CIG doesn't want to finish the game because the business model is very lucrative. Thanks for watching and see you next time. Bye, auf Wiedersehen. Don't know why NPC is shooting at this ship. This game. Year 13, $1 billion, and this is what we're getting for NPCs. What he is shooting at? Why is this NPC shooting at the ship? Are you okay, sir? What happens when I'm standing in the way? Do I get hit? Do I die? Okay, let's just go. Hey, you're still here. You might want to join me on Twitter or on Blue Sky.